Hey guys, it's Jordy from Seven Eagle Group. I am so honored to have an opportunity to chat today with retired U.S. Air Force F-22 and F-15 fighter pilot and squadron commander Rob Kujo-Teschner. Rob was the #1 graduate of the Air Force Top Gun School, served 21 years and was
promoted to the full rank of lieutenant colonel.
After retiring from service, Rob launched VMAX Group, a leadership and team development company based in St. Louis that helps businesses succeed by utilizing the same methods he developed as a high-performing combat vet. His first book is Debrief to Win. It's been out about a year now and receiving some amazing reviews. So Rob, thank you so much for taking a few minutes to spend with me to offer your advice for other veterans and business owners.
Yeah, Jordy, thanks so much for having me. It's always a pleasure to work veterans issues, not just because I am one, but because I'm passionate about the great people that serve in our military. And I'm also passionate about small business. And so figuring out a way to communicate to those who are interested in pursuing this is an important thing for our economy and for our defense.
That's awesome. Hey, do you mind sharing a little bit about why serving in the Air Force was such a valuable experience for you, especially as you transition to the civilian side?
Absolutely. So look, I mean, what is service in the military all about? It's about serving on teams to advance a mission, to take and do whatever it is that our nation needs us to do. And so by definition, it requires us as young people. I mean, I was 17 years old when I went off to the United States Air Force Academy. The people that launched me out on my missions were in their late teens, early 20s throughout my career. You have to learn how to be a good teammate, and you have to learn eventually as a leader of teams how to do so effectively in order to achieve your mission, and where does teamwork not apply in the business context. And so I found it to be a fantastic background from which to springboard into what happened after I retired.
That's great. Did you know what you wanted to do when you were serving, or for your next chapter? Did it take you a while to figure that out, or?
Yeah, Jordy, I kind of envisioned myself continuing on in the flying domain. Flying is in my blood now. I love it. I love it. I love it. I miss it tremendously. But in my case, colorectal cancer came into the picture about 6 years ago, and it shifted everything for me. It was an unwanted transition. And so it forced me to have to think, what else can I do? What do I know that can allow me to take care of my family? We've got 5 small kids under the age of 14. The youngest is 2. And so there's a big responsibility there. How do you provide for them when your body does not work the way that it was designed?
Yeah.
So I had to pivot, Jordy, but it was a good pivot.
I'm sorry you had to go through that. What got you through those tough times?
Yeah, so think about back in fighter pilot days. You know, you buy these beautiful machines. They're super sophisticated. They've got all kinds of capabilities, and they oftentimes break. And so when I was flying, I got used to, all the way back in pilot training, the idea of, hey, when something bad happens, chill out for a second. Take the time to assess what it is that really needs to be done, and then figure out a strategy and a plan to get back down on the ground safely. Did the same thing with respect to the cancer, and utilized all of our capabilities to come up with a good plan to get us back down on the ground safely, which manifested itself, in my case, in launching VMAX Group, my company.
That's great. You say chill out for a second, maybe chill out for an eighth of a second.
Hey, listen, if you jump to a conclusion too quickly while you're out there zooming along, because there's no pause button, there's no opportunity to take a break. I mean, you're always going forward. But if you go too fast to the fix, you may fix the wrong thing and make your situation even worse. So we got into the habit of, when all the bells and whistles start going off, breathe.
Yeah.
Take the time to breathe, focus on flying the airplane first, and then go into problem solving to solve the right problem the right way, and then land as soon as you can. And I mean, that's a great way of approaching any problem in life.
Good advice for anyone. Talk a little bit about the consulting firm and some of the services that you do and how companies can benefit from that.
Yeah, so in that post-cancerous, what do you do when your body's not functioning phase, I had to do an analysis and sort of figure out what systems are still working and what can I do. And I ended up taking 2 jobs, Jordy. I took one with a startup that never started, would open my eyes to the challenges of what it takes to start a small business. And then I ended up selling mortgage loans as part of a mortgage company, a brokerage here in St. Louis, which further uh, shared with me just how challenging it is to run a successful small business, given the regulatory environment, given the challenges of selling and navigating all the complexities. And so that got me thinking, and in my inventory of tools and capabilities, I realized I learned high performance teamwork as a function of being a member of high performance teams for about 16 of my 20 plus years on active duty, and then being privileged enough to lead those same teams for, I'd say, a majority of the time that I was out there flying. And so once I recognized that teams are teams no matter where they are, the consulting practice came into play real quick, and I reached out and started talking to business teams, figuring out what the gaps might be with those teams, and then taking and applying the principles that allow high performance military teams to work into the business domain. And that's the root, that's the core of what VMAX Group does these days.
It's probably a lot more similar than you'd think. From running a successful military operation and leading men and women to running a successful business. They're probably
Jordy, it's all about humanness. You know,
Yeah.
a lot of times when I teach, when I lead a workshop, let's say an introductory workshop, and I ask people what their expectations are of a military team, they'll tell me, yeah, it's rigid, it's bureaucratic, it's hierarchical. You lead with fear. You can punish people who don't perform, and so therefore you have a decided advantage over a business team. And I'm like, man, that's not it. The movies have gotten that part wrong.
Hmm.
Because a high performance team is made up of human beings who share a commitment to one another.
Yeah.
And because of their commitment to one another and a shared sense of purpose, they'll do things for one another for which they're going to hold themselves accountable. They'll be forthcoming, and they'll take risks. They'll be vulnerable. They'll be self-aware. They'll take ownership, all of which are characteristics that cross. I mean, that's what they need from their teams and from their teammates. And so once we get past the preconceptions of what it is that a military team is all about, and we realize the facts, well, now it's very relatable into the business domain, and all of a sudden the conversations get real.
Yeah, I bet. Talk about like our mission here at Seven Eagle is to support veterans all over the world and get them into positions where they can have rewarding careers. And one of the challenges we face is educating, especially a civilian business owner, about why are veterans such great assets to their companies. And you could talk about it from both sides, from being in the service and then from also running your own businesses. Can you talk a little bit about what does a veteran bring, and why should every business owner in America consider adding a former serviceman or woman to their team?
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, this is one of the huge benefits of hiring somebody that comes in with a military background. They became accustomed to, and then eventually adopted as part of their DNA, a focus on accomplishing the mission at all costs. So this laser focus on, hey, we have this purpose. We exist to fulfill this purpose. I'm going to give my all to fulfill the purpose, but how it is that we fulfill the purpose is just as important as the fact that we do so. You're going to find that we really care about our teammates. We've learned to appreciate the benefit of being on a team, to appreciate the fact that we've got somebody watching our back, and so we return the favor, we watch their back. We have learned to become extraordinary teammates, and we can teach other people to do the same thing. We acknowledge that accountability is fundamental to a team functioning properly and to us achieving our purpose. And so instead of being, push back against any sort of accountability practice, we gravitate towards it. It's the accountability process that allows us to function as well as we can, to learn while we're doing, and to be our very best. And so we embrace it. And then the final piece that I'd offer, Jordy, and potentially the most important part, is that we do the things that we do with integrity. Now, I'm not painting some idyllic, this is an aspirational hope, but rather this evidences our core values in the Air Force. Integrity first is the first of our core values, and we learn that without it, we can't be our best. Without it, we don't function the way that we're designed. Without it, we don't achieve our purpose, and so we need it. And who wouldn't want that in their company at any level?
Absolutely. That's great advice. What are some of the most important leadership tactics, strategies that you followed in the military, and how can business owners and the supervisors of their teams, how can they use those same tools to get more out of their people so they're more effective managers, help their companies grow even more?
Yeah. Okay. So, um, one of the things that's often written about when it comes to military performance is the fact that we have some great tools and processes to help us, whether it be the development of strategy or whether it be the tactical execution of things that we do. We plan really, really well. We communicate really, really well to our teammates in a distributed fashion across the globe. We execute well because we empower our teammates to make decisions at the lowest level, to adapt the plan to the reality of the situation. And then we debrief or hold ourselves accountable really effectively because that's just how we do things. But none of that matters if we don't behave the right way to make the tools that we have work properly. And here's the part that's probably surprising, I think, to a lot of business owners that don't have a military background. Our best leaders lead with vulnerability. They don't mind sharing the fact that they've made a mistake, that their mistake may have jeopardized the mission, but because they lead with vulnerability, they inspire trust. And we realize that we're all human. We all make mistakes, and it becomes okay to do so. We're very empathetic. We try not to, especially as leaders, jump to conclusions about why it was that something went wrong. We give credit to the fact that our teammates are usually giving their all and trying their best. And so we try to appreciate the decisions and the stories behind the decisions that led to the outcomes that we're talking about if things didn't go well. We're very self-aware, and we're conscious of the fact that we're all works in progress. And so we're constantly seeking feedback to help us to improve. And I'd say the final piece is that we practice ownership. And so, Jordy, if you and I are teammates, but I'm the lead of our two-person team, and we identify that you made a mistake somewhere along the line, we could easily just leave it at that and go, "Yeah, Jordy, you made a mistake. Don't screw up in the future." But because we practice absolute ownership, I'm going to look at myself and say, "Okay, Jordy, my teammate made a mistake. Where did I not lead him well? Where did I let him down? Because if he fails, so did I, and I take ownership of that."
Yeah, I like that. I really like that approach. That's great. So what are some of the most important action steps that a veteran can take when he or she's getting ready to leave the service, enter the civilian world? It's a stressful time. It's they're scared. They don't know where to turn. What do you think are some of the things they can do to make that transition a little easier?
Yes, in all cases, reach out to those who have been there before you and figure out from them what it is that's going to set you up for success. I mean, there's so many people that have made so many mistakes and along the way have captured so many potential lessons. And if you're not reaching out to figure that out before you go down that same path, then you're setting yourself up to potentially repeat some of those now avoidable mistakes and duplicate some of those potentially hard learned lessons. And so don't do that. And there's enough of us. There's enough of us. There's so many people that are serving active duty Guard and Reserve right now, and so many of them have entrepreneurial spirits. And so find out the ones within your circle of influence that are going down this path already and use them as your mentors and learn from them as much as you can while you still have the stability and support of your service.
That's great. That's great advice. One thing, as a civilian and working in this industry for 5 years now, I have never seen a tighter group of people than the military community. And to echo what you just said, just reach out to people because they're so willing to help, but you got to ask, you got to put yourself out there a little bit. And I have yet to meet one veteran over the 5 years who said, "No, I will not help another veteran who's come after me." So I think that's tremendous. Now, what about what pitfalls are the veterans making when they're looking for that first job? What are some of the mistakes that they could correct?
Yeah, I think potentially some of us undervalue ourselves and say, well, because I don't have the experience in corporate America, or because I don't have a business degree or a business background, because I haven't been out there selling or doing, and therefore I'm at a disadvantage,
Right.
and therefore I'm a limit. I have limitations that are preclude me from being my best. And I would say, no way in heck. No, stop, cease and desist that line of thought, Rather, try and understand what it is that a given company might be looking for, what their needs are, and you'll find typically that your background complements everything that they're seeking. They want your drive, they want your passion, they want your commitment, they want who you are as an individual. They can craft you into and teach you how to do any of the technical skills, but you bring the stuff that's intangible to the mix, and that's your decided advantage over somebody that hasn't had the experiences that you've had in Iraq, Afghanistan, deployed to all kinds of different parts of this earth. So don't ever undervalue yourself, and don't assume that you have limitations that are going to hold you back. You don't. Period.
Yeah,
Dot.
that is great. Yeah, because we talk to so many veterans who we ask them, well, what do you want to do? And they say, well, I fix tanks in the military, so maybe I'll be an auto mechanic. And nothing wrong with being an auto mechanic, but they're not opening their mind up to all the options. Like you said, they have those intangible skills that will make them great at anything. Learning the skill sets, the easy part,
Yes.
So that's really good. Especially, I noticed a lot, especially with the younger veterans, a lot of them want to go into business for themselves. They want to be their own boss. Especially now with what's going on with COVID, they might look at this as a good career option. What advice do you have for these folks who want to be their own boss?
Yeah. So being one's own boss is a mixed blessing, because you might find that you work for a real jerk, and so that, and put another way. The perceived benefits may not always be there. And so the first step that I would advocate while you're still collecting a military paycheck is read The E-Myth, the entrepreneurial myth, written by a gentleman by the name of Michael Gerber. And I say that because he dispels some of the myths of entrepreneurialism in a book that many have seen as sort of their guiding light or Bible in making the transition. It's not to say that it won't be a fantastic journey, but just arm yourself with the facts. So I'd read the E-Myth first of all, and the second thing that I would do is I'd talk to somebody who's been out there doing it for a while to understand what you're really up against. What regulations do you have to worry about? What are the implications to your life? What kind of resources do you need to have in place to mitigate some of the risks that are associated with this? And really, what's vitally important is if you have a spouse, if you've got a family, do they buy into what it is that you're taking on in this journey as well? If there's any conflict there, that's going to manifest itself in ways that may be disruptive to your efforts. I'm blessed in the fact that my wife was fully on board with us going down the path of VMAX Group. I'm also blessed with the fact that I've got some good mentors that have been steering me well and helping me to avoid some pitfalls. It's been a tough slog, for sure. Not nearly as easy as it was collecting a paycheck on the 1st and the 15th when I was an active duty fighter pilot. But I'm aware of those risks. We've mitigated as many of them as we can. And we recognize that this journey has several time horizons on them down the road, benchmarks for success that we're marching towards. And it's not just to flip the switch and we're suddenly the king of our world kind of a thing.
How can veterans, business owners get your books, reach out to you for consulting services? Can you talk a little bit about that if anyone wants to learn more?
Absolutely. So the first edition of Debrief to Win is available on Amazon.com. The book is Debrief to Win. You can also look me up, Teschner, Teschner. It should pop up. My company is VMAX Group, VMAXGROUP LLC.com, and you can see what our product offers are and how it is that we do work. And I can always be reached at rob@vmaxgroupllc.com for anybody that wants to reach out directly.
Rob, again, this was so nice of you to spend some time with us. Such incredible advice. And I really appreciate what you're doing for the military community. And again, thank you again.
Jordy, thanks for having me. Thanks for what you and your company are doing for our transitioning veterans, helping them to get that firm footing as they're making the transition away from what it is that they've known and going forth into this unsettling, potentially uncomfortable, always uncertain environment. It's important that you continue to win, and it's important that you continue to help these veterans to transition effectively so that they can be who it is that they're destined to become.